Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Michael and Dale at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Another threat of a government shutdown is looming if the U.S. Congress doesn't pass a continuing resolution to fund the government beyond Friday. We have the latest on that. Federal judge in Manhattan ruled that anti-Israel agitator Mahmoud Khalil is not to be deported unless and until the court otherwise authorizes this. They've scheduled a hearing for tomorrow, Wednesday. President Trump issued some guidelines for student loan forgiveness, and a former British minister is renewing efforts to ban first cousin marriages in the UK and is meeting opposition in some very unlikely places.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So we have another threat of a government shutdown. It's sort of that quarterly debate that we find ourselves in. Does the government shut down or doesn't it shut down? In most cases, there's a lot of talk, a lot of hot air, and it never shuts down. So it's kind of like, here we go again. Washington, D.C. in full meltdown mode over a potential shutdown. President Trump, once again, the only adult in the room, actually working the phones, twisting arms, we're told, and making sure that America doesn't get stuck with another bureaucratic disaster. So here's what you need to know. Congress has until Friday night actually, to get a funding bill on Trump's desk, or we're looking at a partial government shutdown. Normally, a shutdown is something that Democrats love to exploit. They love the drama. Not this time, it doesn't appear. They typically trot out every doomsday scenario they can think of. Kids won't get fed. National parks will collapse. They'll shut down. Planes will fall out of the sky. All of which, of course, is nonsense. But this time it's a little bit different because, folks, Democrats are terrified of this particular funding bill. For once, they have found a funding bill that they don't like, because it paves the way for Trump's Department of Government efficiency, for Elon Musk's Doge, the very plan that has liberals shaking in their boots. It finds a way that Doge will be funded and will be able to go about their business in cutting other fat out of Washington's bloated bureaucracy. So let's talk about what's actually happened here. Trump is personally calling lawmakers, we're told, to get this thing across the finish line. Unlike previous administrations, which just let Congress run wild while they hid in the basement, Trump's actually trying to get ahead of it. He's picking up the phone. He's negotiating. He's making sure Republicans show a united front, as best as they can, against the swamp creatures who are desperate to keep their gravy train running. They're having nightmares. They're staying up at night thinking about the potential cuts that Trump could see in the coming years. Of course, we've got holdouts. There's always holdouts. There's some Republicans who are still clutching their pearls, if you will, over the idea of a temporary funding measure, saying that it's not regular order. And look, I get it. It's not. I mean, we need to eventually get to the point where we can pass a budget, a balanced budget. But let's keep things moving. Trump's on a roll. The irony here is that, and someone texted me asking about, why a clean CR and why Republicans for once is totally against a shutdown. Well, we need to get this passed so that the funding is there for Doge to continue their work. So what's the Democrat strategy? Well, this is where it gets really interesting because normally Democrats jump at the chance to scream about shutdowns and blame Republicans. This time, they're the ones running scared. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is actually telling Democrats to oppose the bill, not because he thinks a shutdown is a good idea, but because he's terrified of what's in it. This bill gives Trump and Elon Musk's Doge initiative the green light to start slashing government waste in a big way. It allows the administration to start making serious cuts to some of these bloated agencies, to the useless bureaucracies, and to the very deep state power structures that Democrats rely on. And that's why the left doesn't want this to pass. So now Republicans are left fighting among themselves. Democrats are standing on the sidelines hoping we shoot ourselves in the foot. Now, that just can't happen. We can't allow that to happen. There's at least one Republican already, Thomas Massie, who's already said he's a no vote, saying that unless he gets a lobotomy, he won't support a continuing resolution. This is about dismantling the administrative state. This is about clearing the path for the most aggressive government cutting operation in our lifetime. And this is worth supporting. And I get people like Thomas Massie who are opposed to continuing to pass CRs rather than approving a budget the way it should be. But we've been doing this for a few years now. So, Representative Massie, let's just grin and bear it one more time, get this done, give the president the money he needs with the idea that we're going to get to an overall budget and get started on that next late summer, early fall in the next cycle. Trump's not going to compromise. He's offering a transition period on the tariffs. And boy, the markets just took a beating yesterday. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But we got to get this government waste under control. And with the proper funding, Doge can start their actual work. Now, some people may say, well, look at what they've already done. Exactly. And imagine if they get fully funded and imagine that they're able to staff up. So here's where we are. We're told yesterday by a number of different members of the U.S. House that President Trump was on the phone. He's been on the phones making calls, working every angle. The Democrats, again, terrified because they don't want this to happen. And as usual, we've got a few holdouts from the Republican side. That's sort of a summary of where we are. So here, this should be our message to Congress. Call your congressman, call your senator, and ask them to stop playing games, pass the bill, give President Trump the tools that he needs to finish what he has started. We're on the verge of something historic here, and we can't let this petty internal party arguing, squabbling, stand in the way. Now, I would suspect that we're going to get a list pretty soon in the next day or so of who is suspected to be opposing this. What votes may be out there that's not going to fall Trump's way. If it happens to be, and I'll tell you those as soon as we know them. And if it happens to be one of your congressmen, what we're going to need from you is for you to make phone calls, for you to pick up the phone and let your rep know this is not acceptable. You have to support the president. And yes, we understand your objection to another continuing resolution. Let's do it one more time. We got some information yesterday from the White House on a rather bold stance on student loan forgiveness from the Trump administration. They announced that individuals with ties to illegal immigration and diversity, equity, and inclusion protests will not be eligible for federal student loan relief. Now, this comes at a time when the spotlight has been on Columbia University and other liberal colleges around the country who are on the verge of losing their federal funding. This decision aims to ensure that taxpayer-funded assistance is directed to those that meet legal and ethical standards. This, of course, has sparked debates among critics who argue that such restrictions unfairly target specific groups. But look, why would we want to? And one of the examples is the leader of the pro-Palestinian group on Columbia University's campus. Why would we want to support these people and pay for their education if they hate our country and they hate our allies? Why would we want to do that? We're told that Trump has updated the public student loan initiative that directs the Education Department to modify the program to deny loan relief to individuals who have broken immigration laws, participated in unlawful protest activities, taken part in actions his administration deems, quote, improper activities, and foreign terrorist groups. And this is how it should be. Look, if you're a student here at one of these universities, you're getting a government loan of some type, and you're expecting it to be forgiven, but yet you're marching around campus causing chaos. Why should taxpayer dollars be spent to educate you? Go someplace else. Don't expect the American people to just hand over the money for your education, though. Make sense? Hi, Joey Hudson here. You know, this spring there's a renewed energy and focus on efficiencies, and shaking up unhealthy habits don't serve us well. There's so much chatter about making America great again, but it starts in your home with you being the best, healthiest version of yourself. And PhD Weight Loss is doing their part because for the first time ever, the first 11 callers get 2 free weeks added to your weight loss program. That is huge. PhD's out to prove that you don't need Big Pharma to reach your goals. It just creates dependency, not long-term change. Dr. Ashley Lucas researched weight loss trends for years and discovered a scientifically proven way to retrain your body to burn fat efficiently without hunger, extreme exercise, or dangerous medications. PhD clients watch their belly fat disappear, their energy skyrocket, cholesterol and blood pressure normalize without starving themselves. I lost over 30 pounds and I've never felt better. So call now and mention promo code Joey for my 2 weeks for free with my program. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. This is one of those topics that comes along every so often, and you're just thinking, we're not really having this conversation, are we? A former British conservative minister, who's currently a member of the parliament, has renewed his push for legislation that bans first cousin marriages in the UK. And this has prompted opposition from the ruling Labour Party, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and a British Muslim member of Parliament as well. The Conservative MP, Richard Holden, said during a preliminary debate, quote, a marriage between first cousins carries significant health issues, many of which aren't even knowable until post-birth. He said, when practiced generation after generation, there is a significant multiplier effect. So the British Parliament is debating whether or not cousins should be marrying cousins. I mean, this is something like you would hear in a southern state legislature, right? It's sort of always been a running joke that Southerners marry their first cousins. According to Holden, adverse health effects on the children of first cousin marriages have been established in medical research. He said the real impacts on the openness of our society and women's rights in our country are significant. After all, there are significant dynamics in sharing the same set of grandparents. Holden urged Prime Minister Starmer to, quote, think again about blocking the legislation from moving forward. Starmer responded to Holden stating, we've taken our position on the bill, thank you. So I think they're going to stand firm. The Daily Mail reported that nearly 46% of females from the Pakistani community in Bradford, England, had a, quote, common ancestor. This according to a study that was done in 2024. A government study showed that the number was at 62% 10 years earlier. So I guess it's come down a bit. Now, the Prime Minister's office did not say why they are against the bill becoming law. A spokesperson for Prime Minister Starmer said expert advice risk on first cousin marriages are clear in terms of legislation and what the government set up in the King's speech after the election. So, of course, we do not want people to enter in cousin marriages. He said, however, we're focused on making sure every part of the government is focused on delivering on issues that matter to the British public. We set our legislative priorities in the King's speech, basically saying this wasn't a designated priority, so they don't want to spend time on it. I never had really thought about the influx of migrants from the Middle East and North Africa to Scandinavian countries. The BBC reported that Norway has banned cousin marriages, while a ban is expected to come into effect in Sweden next year as well. The failure to make this ban part of their law on interfamily marriage among first cousins has outraged many prominent conservative voices in the United Kingdom. Again, I just didn't realize that this was a topic that had started being debated in the public. Ben Habib, chairman of the Great British Political Action Committee, said that liberalism in the UK is out of control. In the pursuit of allowing people to do whatever they like, sanity is being set aside. It matters not whether that which you wish to do is deeply damaging. If you're a minority, you have a protective blanket put around you and encouraged to continue. Habib added that marrying cousins was a practice while exited Western culture over 100 years ago. He says it's now back with a vengeance. Why? Because we've had mass immigration from cultures which haven't kept pace with others. He said instead of requiring them to adopt our approach, the British government allows them to continue this debilitating practice. Liberalism is reversing cultural advancement, and our government is in on the act. That insanity must stop, he said. During one of the parliamentary debates on the bill, an independent member of Parliament, Iqbal Muhammad, who rejects a legislative prohibition on first cousin marriages, admitted there are documented health risks with first cousin marriages. He said this is an issue that needs greater awareness. However, he said the way to address this is not to empower a state to ban adults from marrying each other. He does not think a ban would be effective or enforceable. Well, look, if you don't issue marriage licenses, they're not going to be able to get to legally marry. Now, according to medical experts, the children of first cousin marriages, I can't believe we're talking about this. I mean, when those words come out of my mind, first cousin marriages. But according to the medical experts, these marriages are highly vulnerable to contracting an autosomal recessive genetic disorder. I don't know what that means, but it ain't good. Mohammed said the matter needs to be approached as a health awareness issue and a cultural issue where women are being forced against their will to undergo marriage. So maybe this is one of those family things where the parents decide who they want their daughter to marry, and it happens to be cousin Bob over there. According to Mohammed, an estimated 35 to 50% of all sub-Saharan populations prefer to accept first cousin marriage, and it's common in the Middle East and South Asia. In July of last year, British voters pulled the plug on the Conservative Party's 14-year reign and voted in Starmer's leftist Labour Party, and it's kind of interesting that he's opposing this. Now, this also got me to thinking about, because, seriously, we all kind of joke about marrying your cousin, the old term kissing cousins. But I wanted to kind of snoop around a bit and just see how this was looked upon in the States. As of February of 2014, and this is the latest data I could find, so this is old. This is 10 years old. 24 U.S. states prohibited marriages between first cousins. 19 U.S. states allowed marriages between first cousins, and 7 U.S. states allow only some marriages between first cousins. I don't know how they decide which ones get to marry each other. 6 states prohibit first cousin once removed marriages. So that's like second cousins, right? So if you're married to your cousin and you plan to move to another state, you might want to check their laws and see how they look upon cousins marrying one another. Some states recognize cousin marriages that are performed in other states. Some states prohibit foreign cousin marriages, meaning marriages that that took place in another state, and yet you move to the new state. And then some states allow first cousins to marry if they are above a certain age or are sterile. So you can't have any little cousin babies. Look, let's just play it safe and don't marry your cousin. Don't even entertain the idea. Can we agree on that? A federal judge in Manhattan ruled that anti-Israel agitator Mahmoud Khalil is not to be deported until the court orders otherwise, and they've set a hearing for tomorrow. I just don't get why these federal judges, and I understand that they're leftists, they're liberal. Joe Biden appointed many of them. Barack Obama appointed many of them. But why would a judge want someone like this guy in our country to begin with? This case highlights a major legal and political battle over immigration enforcement, over free speech and national security concerns, all wrapped up into one. From a legal perspective, the federal judge's ruling prevents Khalil's immediate deportation, at least until the court hears more arguments tomorrow. The Department of Homeland Security claims that Khalil led activities aligned with Hamas, which, of course, is designated as a terrorist organization here in the U.S. If proven, this could justify his detention and potentially deportation under immigration laws related to national security threats. The guy's a bad guy. He doesn't need to be here. Now, on the other side, Khalil's defenders, bet you can't guess who his primary defender is, Rashida Tlaib and New York Attorney General Letitia James. They argued that his detention is a politically motivated attack on free speech, particularly against those who criticize Israel's actions in Gaza. Well, let me tell you something. If you're not here legally, you shouldn't have freedom of speech. Now, I get that that's one of our basics here in the U.S., freedom of speech. But do our rights apply to people here illegally? I don't think they should. Those who criticize Israel's action in Gaza claim that Khalil is a threat to our society. Those who, like Rashida Tlaib, who support him, claim that Khalil has is a legal permanent resident and was wrongfully detained, and that this sets a dangerous precedent for targeting activities. Meanwhile, Trump's statement makes it clear that his administration is taking a hardline approach against what they see as anti-American and pro-terrorist activities on college campuses. His promise of more arrests suggests a broader crackdown on student activists and others involved in anti-Israel demonstrations, as it should be. He should send a clear, strong message to any of these little pampered brats who are over here in our country to get their education. It should be very clear. Go to class and keep your mouth shut. Don't be parading around the campus. Don't be defaming the campus. Don't be tearing down monuments. If you're here to study, to get a degree, keep your head down and do it, because it's not your right to be here. It's a privilege for you to be here. Now, the upcoming court hearing is going to be crucial to Khalil's fate and to to a large degree to Trump's immigration programs, because this will set a precedent on how similar cases are handled in the future, particularly as Trump continues to push strong national security and immigration policies, and as Homeland Security and Kristi Noem and the whole team, as they continue to round up these bad guys. I mean, don't you know this guy and others like him are just sitting back laughing at us because we have a federal judge that is protecting him from deportation? Now, you can't hide stupid. And while we're talking about Rashida Tlaib, she's just making a spectacle of herself. Rashid was the single no vote in a very rare moment of bipartisanship in the U.S. House yesterday. Now, we're in probably the most divided times that I've ever seen. But yet yesterday we had a vote of 402 to 1 to pass the Subterranean Border Defense Act. This bill is led by Representative Eli Crane from Arizona, co-sponsored by Representative Lou Carrera from California, focuses on addressing the growing problem of cross-border tunnels used by Mexican cartels to smuggle in drugs, weapons, and other illegal immigrants. So basically, we're going to bust up their little tunnels down there, and we're not going to allow them to dig anymore. For years, these cartels have been digging these tunnels under our border so they can come and go undetected. And they bring their mayhem with them, the drugs and the illegals, the people who should be in prison. So the Congress, for once, agrees on something. 402 votes to 1 Rashid Tlaib. I've always knew that she was just a real dummy. She really proved that yesterday. This bill had bipartisan support, and in today's politically charged climate, both Republicans and Democrats came together for once for the better of our country, recognizing the growing national security concern of these tunnels coming into our country. Over 140 tunnels have been discovered since 1990, with an 80% increase in tunnel activity since 2008. And as border security tightens above ground, cartels are going to increasingly use these underground smuggling methods because they know they can't do it in the sunshine. The bill would require U.S. Customs and Border Protection to submit annual reports to Congress on tunnel activity and countermeasures that they're using to try to stop them. House leadership placed the bill under a suspension of the rules, allowing a quick passage with a 2/3 majority threshold, which they easily received. Again, the only vote against it was Rashida Tlaib. The biggest headline here is that Ms. Tlaib was the only member to vote against it. So far, she hasn't publicly explained her reasoning, but given her past position on immigration and law enforcement, she may see the bill as an expansion of border enforcement that could disproportionately impact certain immigrant communities whom she supports. But with such overwhelming House support and passage, the bill is expected to move to the Senate, where it's expected to be moved along over there pretty quickly as well. Now it's going to depend on whether Democrat in the Senate will go along with it as well, but I think they will, given the bipartisan nature of the House's approval, and in a vote like that. I don't know that I've seen a vote like that on any substantial legislation recently, to where you got 402 votes in favor of something. So with this bipartisan nature of the House's approval, it probably has as good a chance of passing in the Senate as anything we've seen recently. I mean, what do you think about Tlaib's decision to stand alone? If I'm someone who lives in her district, of course, if I lived in her district, I would have never voted for her anyway. But isn't this a good reason to turn her out of office? That she is just so set on obstructing what Donald Trump is trying to do, that she would be the lone vote against this, that she doesn't want our country protecting ourselves by closing these tunnels down? You want to try to help me understand that one? Send me an email, joe@joeyhudson.com. Text me. Send me smoke signals. I mean, really. As I said, you just can't hide stupid, can you? And this lady, she is well on her way to being probably the dumbest member to ever serve in Congress. Boy, it was a bad day for investors yesterday. U.S. stocks plunged as, I guess primarily in response to President Trump's not using the word recession, but suggesting that we might have some tough times coming. Last week's steep sell-off resumed yesterday in a big way. The S&P lost 155 points, or 2.7%. The Dow Jones took a beating, lost 890 points, or 2.8%. They closed at 41,911. NASDAQ sank 727.9 points, or 4%. Isn't it crazy how markets respond to things like this? I mean, this was all about, on Sunday, the president declining to comment on the negative market reaction to his on-again, off-again tariff actions against some of the biggest U.S. trading partners like Canada, Mexico, China, and whether anxieties related to these various policy shifts could nudge our economy into a recession, and the fact that he just didn't want to use that word, recession, which was the responsible thing to do. Now, his Commerce Secretary very clearly said he doesn't think we're going to go into a recession. A lot of the stock analysis have downgraded U.S. stocks because of the uncertainty surrounding tariffs. A Reuters poll of economists reflected the growing risk of recession for both the United States and Canada. And Mexico as well. The tech stocks have been under a lot of pressure because of various worldwide events. And this was just what they needed to give them a little nudge to take a massive loss. Now, we'll come back. We'll recover. And as I've been telling you, just don't check your 401k statement and you're okay. Just wait 6 months because it'll come back bigger and better than ever. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. If you're on X and you realize yesterday that the service was down a number of times, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk said that a cyber attack against X was originated in the Ukraine, but they're not quite sure of the group that is responsible for the attack yet.
I want to begin, but among other things, everyone's attacking you for your position. What are you doing in the government? There was a cyber attack on X today, which shut it down and may have been foreign sourced. Yes. It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
Oh, well, so that's your suspicion. Is the website, is the internet up? Is it up yet?
It's up, yeah.
It's up yet. Okay, good.
That was during an exclusive interview with Larry Kudlow on Fox yesterday. It was previously reported that Dark Storm Team, a group of pro-Palestinian hackers with alleged ties to Russia, created weeks before Iranian-backed Hamas, his terrorist attacks on October the 7th, had claimed responsibility in a Telegram post for the attack on X. Cybercriminals have been known, of course, to create false IP addresses to impersonate computer systems from different parts of the world, according to the New York Post. So still not quite sure about who did this. The Post said that users reported issues with X starting at around 6 a.m. yesterday. There were more than 40,000 users claiming issues with the platform. Another 25,000 users encountered problems on the X app as of yesterday afternoon. By around 5 o'clock or so, Musk said that everything was back to normal and that the service was up. I had a number of you text me and email me that things were down. Some of you were having withdrawal from X, weren't you? Look, I'm on X. I monitor it, but I can't say that I've just always been a real active person on X. Sometimes I get a little annoyed at just having to make out what's going on in such a minimal post. This was an exclusive interview that Musk did with Larry Kudlow. He was first asked about the cyber attacks, of course, but then they went on and talked about the Department of Government Efficiency, of course. And Musk confirmed that the department has pretty much gained access to every government agency and its spending data, adding that DOGE is transparent line by line on what expenditures it intends to slash as they are listed on their website.
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress, actually. So our savings at this point exceed $4 billion a day. Mm-hmm. So it's very significant.
You think you'll wind up getting to $1 trillion?
Yeah.
Of savings?
I mean, unless we're stopped, we will get to $1 trillion of savings.
And that stuff can be translated. I mean, we had Russell Vogt, the OMB director, on earlier, through very rescission authority, impoundment authority. But I believe you said it earlier, it's an audit that will not gather dust on shelves. This is actually going to wind up with real savings, bend the spending baseline down.
Yeah. There have been many good audits, like I said, done by inspector generals and by Government Accountability Office, and they just haven't been implemented. Nothing's been done. I think the GAO identified that there were 17 million dead people in the Social Security database several years ago. It's now 20 million, but nobody did anything about it. I think you can sort of look at this as a complaint minimization optimization. So basically, if the government sends money out to, whether it's wasteful or fraudulent, nobody complains if they receive money, but they do complain if they don't receive money. And the people that complain the loudest are the ones receiving the fraudulent money.
Musk has pushed back, of course, against those who have been critical of his work at DOGE over its access to federal systems, including the Treasury Department's payment system, as well as moves to cancel federal contracts and make cuts at various agencies. He told Kudlow, what we're adding here is caring incompetence. There's a massive amount of fraud of basically people submitting Social Security numbers for Social Security benefits, unemployment, and Small Business Administration loans. According to Musk, DOGE currently employs a team of about 100 people, with an ultimate goal of 200 workers ranging from information security, software, and coding and finance. And when it comes to how DOGE picks the next target, Musk noted that they act broadly across all departments. They're not picking on any particular agency. They are an equal opportunity and allowing all federal agencies participate in their audits. He told Kudlow, frankly, I can't believe I'm here doing this. It's kind of bizarre, but I kind of think that we've got this enormous federal budget deficit, and it's a $2 trillion deficit that keeps growing. Our interest payments are higher than our Defense Department budget. Look, I think that Elon Musk is having the time of his life because, yes, he's had some very successful businesses, obviously made billions of dollars, but I'm not so sure that he's not getting more satisfaction from serving in this position and doing something. He sees the problem, and the problem is an out-of-control federal government. He sees the solution, and he's just applying his knowledge that he has built over the years in running successful companies. which I get back to what I've asked all along is why do people object to Elon Musk having access to this information? Why would anyone object to him going into a federal agency, let's just say the education department, and being given access to whatever he wants in order to take a good look at that agency and say, okay, here's what we can cut. Here's how we can make this more efficient. Why would anyone object to that? What do they think Elon Musk has to gain? He's already got all the money he could ever spend in his lifetime. He's doing this because of his love of country and his love of Donald Trump. He wants Donald Trump to succeed. And why people object to that, I just can't understand. Maybe you can help me with that. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Why do you think the liberal left, they're so opposed to Elon Musk looking under the hood, so to speak? I mean, what could they possibly think that he could do with that data that would harm anyone? And look, he's already proven what he can do to help everyone, to help our federal government, to help us get out of this mess we're in. Because, look, the old way of politicians doing it, we've already seen that's just not going to happen. Politicians aren't going to be able to make these tough decisions. They don't even want to look because it's kind of like, Congressman A over here doesn't want Congressman B questioning him because he wants to be able to take his pork back to his district. That's how you keep getting reelected. Congressman B over here doesn't want Congressman A looking over his shoulder either. So they agree, they have a mutual agreement there that, hey, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. I'm not going to be looking at any of your expenditures. If I come forward with a pet project, just support it and I'll support yours the next time. It's the old, you scratch my back, I will gladly scratch yours in return. And that's what's wrong with the system. And that's why it's going to take someone like Elon Musk and Donald Trump to turn this ship around. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.